This is Twisted Passages with award-winning author Marie Sutro. Now, let's take a deep dive into the dark world of psychological thrillers and meet the authors who created them.
Hello, and welcome to Twisted Passages. I'm your host, Marie Sutro, and today we have NAACP Image Award-nominated author L.S. Stratton here to talk about her new release, In Deadly Company. Welcome, L.S.
Thank you for having me.
And you said you go by Shelley, so
Yes.
We're okay with Shelley for this interview, right?
Yes, that is perfectly acceptable. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. Before I start running in, because there's so much to unpack in this novel, can you start listeners off with an overview of what the story is about?
Sure. I describe In Deadly Company as a dark comedy mystery, a la the Knives Out mysteries, if you've caught on to some of that. It's about Nicole Underwood, who is the executive assistant of Xander Chambers, who is a Nepo baby billionaire CEO. And he is just the nightmare CEO that she is just ready to be done with her job. But her last assignment for him before she is supposed to end her tenure as his personal assistant is to do a birthday bash for his 32nd birthday. But when the bash ends, he is deceased, along with several of the other party attendees. So all the questions turn to Nicole, who is one of the survivors. And so she decides to, after all the media circus, to try to become a consultant on a film, what she feels will be her redemption arc, where she can tell her side of the story. So the novel is told from the perspective of what happened that birthday weekend, what happens on the film set, and then we try to determine whether or not what Nicole is saying to the reader is actually the true events that happened during that weekend.
And it is absolutely every bit as much a fun mystery as you described. I the whole time I'm like, who, what, when, where, why, how, and the way that you set it up, we just have to start out with the two timelines that you give us. Brilliant way to tell this story, especially for us as the reader who tried to solve the mystery. You gave us, I guess now, where those events that you described with the party are in the past, and she's on this movie set, having this movie made about it. And then the other timeline is building up to that moment at the party. And oh my God, that was so good. How did you come up with the idea for that?
The mysteries that I've written so far have not been, for the most part, linear stories. I've always kind of played with timelines and perspectives, but I always wanted to tell something from the perspective of kind of a Lifetime movie adaptation, because those films always take liberties when it comes to true crime. So I thought it would be fun to juxtapose a movie set where we're seeing the same scenes of what supposedly happened play out versus, okay, now this is what really happened at the same time. So the reader is bouncing back and forth and seeing the discrepancies between what is happening in the script versus what happened in real life. And some of these things Nicole wasn't present for. So we see perspectives of other characters in the stories of, oh, so this is what they saw and this is what really happened versus this is what we're seeing told in the form of the film.
And with those two timelines and those two settings, which is awesome, the past is on the East Coast, but the movie is all of the glam and the fun of Hollywood on the West Coast.
Yes.
So those juxtapositions, again, I see you use that word. I was like, okay, so she's playing with a lot of these things.
Yeah.
Just sitting with Hollywood for a moment. One of my favorite things about this book was the way that you got in our heads as a reader. You make us question everyone. And in this case, you give us reason to question Nicole as the protagonist because she's keeping secrets from us. Was that hard to keep her, because you did it so well? I was like, Nicole, tell me what you're up to here, honey. Come on.
There were times where I was like, okay, she would say something and then I said, nope, 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 we have to delete that line. I'm telling too much. But I also had to do it in a way that it wouldn't sound like, well, why wouldn't she just divulge this basic information? But when I kept it, at least in the present tense, in first person, I think an average person would be like, well, why would someone over explain if they feel like you should already be caught up by now? So she's telling it from the perspective of like, you've already seen the Netflix docuseries, you've heard the reports. Now this is my side of the story. But the reader is like, wait, so what is your side of the story then? As the story progresses, we start to see like, oh, she wasn't completely forthcoming in the beginning about everything that actually happened. So by the time you get to the end, you're like, oh, that's what all that was about. That's what I was thinking, that it would be more realistic if I told it first person from the present of why she wouldn't divulge everything, because she's like, I'm just telling you something that you already know. It's like, no, as a reader, I don't already know. Yeah.
And I have to say, my soulmate character, not in every way, but in this one way, my soulmate character was Asia. And I love that you did what you did with her, because you were able to play with that information reveal with Asia as the actress trying to get into Nicole's head, which we all want to get into.
Yes.
And the interactions between them were absolutely amazing.
Yeah. Because Asia is confused, just like the reader. I was like, okay, I'm trying to understand, what were your motivations for doing all of this? Because as you get to the end of the book, you're like, wow, that was crazy. So she's like, I know the basic details, but I really need to understand your rationalization for this. And that seeded the idea of like, okay, now that explains as a reader why we're being projected into the past. So that it's like, okay, this is really what her mindset was at that time. But even she acknowledges, as she's telling Asia the story, I'm not even sure if I'm being completely forthcoming, because I might be trying to paint myself in a better light. So then the reader is like, oh, okay, so can I even count on these retellings to be completely accurate as well? And that's why I changed perspectives. So other people are pointing out things like, no, Nicole wasn't always completely forthcoming with us either. So
brilliantly crafted in all of those ways to keep every murder mystery fan questioning everything and everyone.
Yeah.
But one of the other really amazing things about this book is you really take on a lot of serious issues, things that we can all relate to. There's issues around loyalty and privilege and power. And this is one of the things that sat with me for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
In life, some of us are lucky enough to find mentors for what we do.
Mm-hmm.
You gave us an interesting look into the mentorship experience. Her mentor, and you kind of put her at odds, even though she's not in this book. Mm-hmm. You put her mentor kind of in these conversations against Nicole's mother. Yeah. And as I sat with the book after I finished the last page, I thought, wait a minute, is there something there in all of us when we find mentors? Yeah. Is there something in that almost parent-child, when we find one that we really love, we do kind of exalt them to a special status. Yeah. What is it about our parents and what we need from them and sometimes can't always get from them?
Her mentor becomes kind of like her surrogate mother, in that she's constantly seeking this mentor's approval. As the story progresses, you start to see the stakes start to get higher and higher and higher for proving like, hey, I'm that person that you thought I was, or I can be that employee that you trusted. And she does outright relate it to the reason why I immediately identified with this mentor is because she reminded me of my mother, and constantly seeking my mom's validation, even when I didn't realize I was doing it. So she has to come to terms with that fact that in some ways she even realizes she sees a little bit in her boss that she hates, because her mentor was his mother, that she's like, oh my God, like he's doing it too. He's seeking this approval. And so in some ways I do think they kind of become you're surrogate parents, and it can be kind of a healthy relationship, or it cannot be. And we see in the novel what type of relationship it is.
I've been lucky enough to be mentored in my life, and I've been lucky enough to be a mentor in my life. I think I just was going through life with blinders, not really realizing, hey, there is this special warmth that grows, and you do put them on this pedestal to you
Yeah.
to some degree,
Yeah.
whether you want to or not. And it's really interesting because I was like, oh, am I like the little turtle following her around?
And I was
I
like,
was like,
but
oh,
again,
okay.
it can't be positive if it's done in the right way. Sometimes the relationships can be different when boundaries haven't been established as well, and healthy boundaries. And like I said, in the novel, readers can see when boundaries may not be so healthy and when the borders start to blur. And that to me would be the job of a mentor. It's like, at what point are you continuing to help or to harm? The characters have to come to terms with that in a professional relationship. Is like, is this helpful anymore, or is this starting to be destructive, tearing you apart?
And it was woven in so well with other very serious issues that I think sometimes we find ourselves in situations, whether we want to or not, where privilege and power play these very impactful roles in our lives. And I started to think about tolerance and whether tolerance can be a superpower or a super weakness.
Yeah.
And Nicole is one of the best for this because she
Yeah.
is a strong woman. She has no interest in tolerating poor behavior,
Yeah.
yet she does.
Yes.
And for a variety of reasons.
Yes.
And I wanted to ask you about that because I think lots of times we look at that and say, well, you shouldn't ever tolerate ABC.
Yeah.
But then sometimes there might be a reason to do that.
Yeah.
So
Well, she repeats the mantra over and over again that just remember the objective, get the job done. And so that becomes the blanket that she uses to throw over all the stuff that is telling her, walk away. This is not good. Like, nobody should have to put up with this. But it's like, I have an objective. I'm going to get the job done because that's what I said I was going to do. And it could be a good trait, but at some, like you said, it can also work against you. And at some point, you have to make that call of, things have gone too far. We can't push it any further. But this is a comedic example of when it just goes way too far.
you did use comedy so well in that
Yeah.
way.
Oh, thank you.
But that's the good use of comedy, right? When it
Yeah.
reflects back and makes us think.
Yeah.
And those issues around privilege, big part of them are obviously tied with Xander to
Hmm.
power.
Yes.
But I was also thinking of, coming back to parents, there is a privilege to being a parent, and parents who don't put their child in a situation to be successful in life, which means we are part of a social species. You have to interact with people. It's not
Yes.
all about you, Xander.
Yeah. Yeah. And he acknowledges that his mother kind of pushed off that role to other people because she was a driven woman and she wanted to be a success, but she was also a single mother. So from one perspective, there's very practical choices that have to be made. Like, of course, she needed to make an income. She needed to take care of herself and her child. But it got to the point where choices were being made that he understood he was not the first and foremost choice anymore. He wasn't the second, he wasn't the third. So he was basically left on his own. He was like, I had lots of money. I always had nannies around, but it was obvious that she did not want to mother me anymore. Her goal was her business and she wanted to grow it and she wanted to be successful. And he's basically a man baby. He's in this suspended state that he has literal tantrums as an adult because he's acting out because he's still that little boy vying for attention from his mother, but he's taking it out on everyone else. And Nicole has some sympathy for him, because of that. But she's like, at some point, you got to grow up. Your mom is gone. Like, we can't do this forever, Xander. Yeah, he remains in that suspended state.
And there was this odd, I don't know, it was so contradictory in me
Yeah.
as the reader. And it's because it's contradictory in Nicole, as you said.
Yeah.
We kind of want her oddly to be his mom and get him
Yeah,
to have
and
an
he does
aha
too.
moment, you know?
He does too. He's like, you can't leave me.
Exactly.
I'm not leaving you. I'm quitting, Xander. He's
Yes,
like, no,
yes.
you can't leave me. And she has, in the absence of his mom, kind of taken on that motherly role for him. She cleans up his literal messes and takes care of him and makes sure, like, even though he treats her like a servant, he on some level is very much aware, like, I can't really function without her behind me. Like, it's no way I can do this job as CEO unless I have her at my side. So that's why when she gets fed up and basically is like, I quit. He's like, you can't quit. She's like, that's not how it works. He's like, nope, you're not leaving me. I refuse.
It's so funny because he's an utterly vile human being.
Oh,
He really
absolutely.
is utterly vile, and I don't want to like him. I really don't. But you made me want him to be redeemed, and you wanted me to have Nicole be the redeemer.
Yeah. And that's why it was funny, because I was like, I can easily imagine, like, he's like, I'm a man. And she's like, well, I'm leaving. No, you can't.
Yes. I hear his voice in my head.
Yeah.
I mean,
like, you can't leave me. You're walking out on me. It's like, I'm not
yeah,
walking out. I'm just quitting.
I think after finishing this book, I think I need to go for some serious therapy because I have serious codependence in me not exist, that I want Xander to be redeemed.
Yeah. He was and even though it was a comedy, he was in some ways kind of a tragic figure, because he never does really get his, not too much of a spoiler, but a redemption arc, because he stays a man baby. Like, he never fully develops.
Why Nicole is such a wonderful protagonist. She has a very heightened sense of loyalty. And I was thinking about the intersection between loyalty and tolerance, and how loyalty alone can force us to tolerate things we never should.
Mm-hmm.
I won't ruin it for readers, but the opening scene of the book puts us in a situation of understanding and empathy.
Yeah.
Nicole is looking at someone else and understanding exactly who they are and seeing them where no one else sees them. And that was such a powerful way to start it. How did you get that idea?
Well, I had been in preparation for the book. I read like articles of personal assistants and the crazy things they have been asked to do or told by their bosses. And I think that group of people, when you're dealing with that level of insanity, it's kind of a club that they're like, no one else will put up with this, but we had to go through it. So when she's sitting in basically the opening scene in that hotel lobby, and she sees this guy with his young girlfriend, and he's just being really rude to his assistant, and his assistant is trying his best, she instantly connects to her, because she was like, I was there. Like, nobody's going to understand this. Everybody else is like, this is insane, but I get it. I get it. And if what had happened, then I would still be that person that everyone's like, I cannot believe you have to deal with this. And so I was thinking of that gives a perspective instantly of her. Like you said, it shows that she has empathy. She's part of this club of unique people who've been through this situation, and she is looking back on it, and you're prepping the reader, like, we're going to do a deep dive into why she even understands what this person is going through.
Well, it was so well done, and I feel like, you're welcome, as much as this was a fun novel and there were those comedic elements, and as much as it was an awesome puzzle to solve, at the same time, you made some really important points that I hope people take with them out of this. You know, there's lots of conversations, especially during the party, where other people who are in that service world, right, of making this happen and everything, everybody's kind of in the same boat.
Yes.
They're all not human. They are things to be moved around or ordered around or placed here or placed there or ranted at or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I just really hope that people don't just read this book, but take it home, because I will say I have been at restaurants where people haul off on the servers and they're not necessarily a multi-billionaire who's doing it. It's just average everyday people, right? Or they yell at somebody at the grocery aisle or this or that. And it's like, we need to see each other more. And I think you did a beautiful job in an unexpected way. Like, people think, oh, this is going to be a fun little murder mystery. But you made some really important points. And I'm very grateful around, like I said, privilege, power, people who are unseen, voices who are hushed.
I've made a point to say, like, she's the assistant to a CEO, but she didn't get to see herself any better than the au pair. She didn't see herself any better than the work staff who were cleaning the rooms. She didn't see herself as any better than the people who were working in the kitchen, because they're like, we're all here to serve. And in many ways, we kind of, from the perspective of the people we serve, we've lost our humanity, that they kind of say anything to us. They treat us anyway. They're incredibly dismissive. And we are encouraged just to fade into the background, to the point that au pair is like, that is my job. I tend to their daughter and I fade into the background. And so it's an understanding among all of them that this is how the people in power see us, regardless of whether or not they have a lot of money, they're pretending to have more money than they actually have. There's a level of humanity that gets ignored when you're in those positions. And it's not right. It's not right.
It's not right at all.
Yeah.
Well, among the things that are right, your writing shines very, very highly at the top of the right things in the world. So given that I am now a huge fan, because this was the first of your stories I've read, for me and for all of your existing fans and all the new fans coming, where is the best place for folks to find out? And maybe also if you could tell us what is coming next.
The best place to find me, I'm always on Instagram. So I will post content a lot. I post it more than anywhere else, and that is Shelley Stratton Books, at Shelley Stratton Books. I also operate under my old name, the website ShelleyEllisBooks.com. The next book that I have coming out is a young adult. It's a mystery, but it's a paranormal mystery. And it's a lot more social commentary. It's about a young girl who goes on vacation with her family to a town in West Virginia. This young girl was kidnapped when she was younger. And this is supposed to be the family vacation where they reconnect, because she's been having an incredibly hard time reconnecting with her family now that they've been reunited. But the town that they go to, she finds out, is a sundown town, and it is haunted. So when two girls disappear, she starts to have sightings of spirits, and she's trying to figure out what are the spirits trying to tell her, and the story goes from there.
Absolutely chillingly awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thank you. It is called In Deadly Company. It is absolutely everything you could want out of a mystery and more.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining me today. And thank you all for joining us today on this episode of Twisted Passages. We hope to see you next time.